Hayaoki wa sammon no toku. Waking early is worth 3 pence. This Japanese proverb reminds us that oftentimes the difference between success or failure comes down to timing. This week on Lost in Translation, we look into the history of mascots in Japan and how the first wave of Japanese video game companies came to be embraced by the West. In the 1960s, Japan was riding the tail end of one of the greatest economic explosions history had ever known. This economic miracle saw Japan emerge from the devastation of World War II as the second largest economy in the world. While Japan's economy soared to new heights, its government struggled to reset diplomatic relations with its East Asian neighbors, specifically China. The People's Republic of China was upset that Japan had established diplomatic ties with Taiwan. The Japanese government, meanwhile, witnessed the events of China's Cultural Revolution with great apprehension. They feared the spread of communism and the prospect of a disruptive revolution in their own country. That all changed, however, in 1972, when Japan and China released a joint communique outlining their renewed ties. China would agree to waive its demand for war reparations, and in return, Japan would formally recognize Taiwan as part of the People's Republic of China. It seemed that nearly a century of conflict between the two nations was finally at a close. To celebrate the occasion, China gifted Japan 2 giant pandas, named Ranran and Kankan. This seemingly innocent gift was part of a tried and true strategy known as panda diplomacy. Gifting these rare, friendly animals often resulted in decreased political tensions. And in Japan, it absolutely worked. At the Ueno Zoo, the pandas were met with great excitement. People waited in line for hours to catch a brief glimpse of the two. Not everyone was so easily captivated, however. This panda boom greatly concerned some Japanese politicians, one of whom remarked that it was another indication of the Japanese public's susceptibility to mood, a perceived eagerness to get swept up in popular hysteria. And so began Japan's modern obsession with cute. As the economy stabilized, the public began to feel more comfortable with their place in the world. Soon, every household owned the 3 treasures: a car, an air conditioner, and a color television. The government's high-growth strategy to rebuild after the war had paid off spectacularly, resulting in a prosperous middle class with cash to burn. By 1974, the national attitude was ripe for a new type of character, one who appealed less to a strong national work ethic and more to a desire for comfort and loving reassurance: Hello Kitty. The cuteness of Hello Kitty ushered in a character merchandising renaissance. For children, this meant that post-war icons such as Shotaro Kaneda and Tetsuwan Atomu, characters who embodied moretsu, the value of hard work and ambition, would soon be replaced by the likes of Doraemon, Hello Kitty, and her imitators. Characters who felt more cute and comfortable, with no obvious value set. In fact, Hello Kitty herself lacked a mouth, so that people may be either happy or sad with her, projecting their own feelings in the process. Japan's emerging consumer culture continued to gravitate towards goods that made them feel at ease, rather than inspire them to work harder than they already were. These new characters help busy adults cope with the demands of everyday life by reminding them of a youthful past, free from worry. Initially called beautifuru, this quality would evolve into kawaii. While it's easy to associate kawaii with empty-headed cuteness, the reality is it emerged as a counterculture movement that questioned the authority of adults to dictate proper behavior for youth. Schools naturally perceived this to be a problem and banned kawaii handwriting altogether. We'll be revisiting kawaii in a future episode. Japanese corporations were quick to realize the latent power these friendly characters held. In the previous decade, companies like Nintendo had benefited immensely from licensing Disney characters in order to make their own products seem more appropriate for families. By the 1980s, established characters such as Snoopy and Popeye began to appear on airplanes, giving ticket sales a strong boost. having Snoopy, Popeye, or Miffy on your company's products was great. But the stunning success of Hello Kitty held the promise of something even more lucrative. Businesses of all sorts began crafting their own original mascots to represent their interests in a way that was reassuring to the general public. Owning the mascot outright meant that these companies could expand existing revenue streams while at the same time making their corporate activities more palatable to the general public. These characters were just hollow and ambiguous enough to be easily transplanted from product to product through various merchandising efforts. Many of these characters capitalized on the developing kawaii trend to great effect. Gudetama, Domokun, Rilakkuma, and Tare Panda come from this subset of Japanese mascots. So, what gives? Why are mascots such a big thing in Japan? I mean, next year, the competition to decide the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games mascot will be streamed live. Many people are obviously quite invested in this kind of thing. Well, you could say that we've seen all of this before. Back in 1776, an artist named Toriyama Sekien illustrated an encyclopedia with a rather intense-sounding name, The Illustrated Demon Horde's Night Parade. Toriyama utilized woodblock printing, which allowed for his illustrated works to be easily mass-produced. The encyclopedia was an overnight success. The creatures in his book were what are known as yokai, naturally occurring beings with supernatural powers, usually blamed for otherwise unexplained phenomena. Yokai span a wide range of forms, from animals and ogres to chairs and clothing. Now, Japanese people were already intimately familiar with the folklore of yokai. They had been blamed for anything from a spot on the ceiling to your neighbor's bad mood. But once the general public had seen these creatures brought to life in the pages of Toriyama's encyclopedia, well, they just couldn't get enough. A yokai craze swept across Japan in the form of books, toys, and card games. Sound familiar? For the first time, your average Japanese person could see and share images of yokai, resulting in a widespread public attachment to the creatures. Toriyama would go on to publish 2 sequels to his work. Having exhausted the known folklore, he ultimately included new yokai from his own imagination. His original encyclopedia would see many reprints through the following century. Yokai have their roots in something deeper than woodblock printing and shared explanations for why you shouldn't just throw away your old belongings. The Japanese people have long maintained strong historical and emotional bonds with non-human entities, sometimes called mononoke. They held the belief that all objects, be they a mountain, a river, or a rock, have a spirit inhabiting them, making them sentient just like people. This is not to say that modern Japanese necessarily view the world this way. Yet our shared human tendency to give ordinary objects deeper meaning, or even life itself, can be a powerful force, and nobody knew this better than the Japanese. Objects can transmit meaning in a way that language sometimes cannot. This is what is known as transcultural currency. Anything that is accepted and utilized regardless of cultural differences. For example, in a way that no flowery wording in a declaration could ever convey, China suddenly seemed a lot more approachable and friendly thanks to a pair of cute pandas. Hello Kitty's success at being embraced by Western audiences taught Japanese businesses the value of transcultural currency. If you want to succeed in overseas markets, play down the most foreign aspects of your company. And you'd better believe that the resurgent video game companies of the 1980s had been paying attention. Just as China had done not 10 years earlier, Japan was gearing up for their own pop culture version of panda diplomacy. By the way, I'm excited because in the next episode, we'll see the results of our recent survey. I want to thank everyone who submitted a response. The results really have been fascinating to see. Next time, we'll talk about how Japanese companies tackled the monumental task that lay ahead, how characters near and dear to our hearts today came into existence, and why a yellow dot, an Italian plumber, and a blue hedgehog helped Japan lead the world in a brand new billion-dollar industry. I'll see you again next time.